Cassandra, why is my water heater leaking?
Well, depends on what kind of water heater do you have. If it's a tank water heater, it can be leaking from the tank itself, in which case you will have to get a replacement. If it is a tankless water heater, hopefully it's not the heat exchanger, but good news is you don't have to get a whole new water heater if it is the heat exchanger. One of the nice benefits of a tankless water heater is they are infinitely repairable. As long as you can get a hold of the parts, you can repair it and keep using it. So the heat exchanger is the most difficult and expensive thing to replace, but it is still replaceable.
Okay. Well, I guess with that, another common plumbing question when it comes to water heaters. How long does a water heater typically last? Like, very seriously, though, focusing on like a tanked water
Mhm.
heater and then maybe getting into tankless later because
Okay, so for
tanked water heaters are kind of what we have mostly in homes.
yes, tanked water heaters are still the most common ones. It's what most people think of when you say water heater. And for a typical tanked water heater in our area, you're probably looking at like an 8 to 10 year lifespan, especially if you didn't do the maintenance on it and you don't have a water softener. So if you do
Ooh.
have a water softener and you are doing annual flushes, getting your anode rod checked and like replaced every about 2 to 3 years, you'd get a lot longer out of a tank water heater. There are
Yeah.
ones who that can last like 20, 30 years, but most people aren't doing the maintenance, and so it really only lasts them about 8 to 10 years.
Right. And is there a difference, like if you're in Montgomery County or Dayton proper versus like Beaver Creek, Xenia, Greene County area?
I mean,
Is
there
there like a
there are
difference between those
small
two?
differences. The main thing is water quality, right? And so
Yeah.
the water quality in the different municipalities is a little bit different, but all of them have hard water. And when you have hard water, you've got sediment building up in the tank. If you're not flushing it out, it's going to make your water heater have to work harder. And it is reducing like the volume capacity. Let's say you have a 50-gallon water heater, you can easily build up 2, 3, 5, 10 gallons worth of that capacity can be filled with sediment. And so you just, even if it's being able to heat the water, you're just not getting as much hot water out of it because it just isn't holding as much hot water anymore. It's kind of like the inverse of what happens when people talk about putting a brick in their toilet. That's to like make it so that it's like a lower flush capacity. You're saving your water. This is we're putting stuff in there unintentionally, and it is reducing the capacity of your hot water tank.
This is why the water always runs out. No, not really.
That's one
Well, I mean,
reason.
actually,
It's
it
it's
could
one
be.
reason.
Could be. Well, what are some common reasons that you would end up with no hot water?
This one is surprisingly common, and people don't usually know when it has happened. Sometimes they know when it's happened, but we get calls for people who say they have no hot water, and they say they can't light the pilot light. Right? We go out there, and there might not be anything wrong with the water heater. Their gas was shut off, and they didn't know. Yeah, so you have to
That
have
has to
gas.
be more common.
I mean,
So that has to be more common in the summertime when you're not like running your furnace as
yeah,
well.
yeah, because you would know if your furnace is also running on gas and if it's not producing hot any heat, right? Um,
Yeah.
so that one probably is a little bit more common in the summer, but it happens surprisingly often. People call us out and they're like, "I'm not getting any hot water." And they're like, "Yes, you have no fuel for your hot water tank, so you can't get any hot water right now." Another reason
That's a problem.
is, let's say that the gas valve has failed. That is a
Mhm.
part on the water heater that regulates the gas going in, and if it fails, it's going to fail closed. It does that on
Okay.
purpose so that you don't have a gas leak, but if that fails, you're not going to be able to get hot water. Sometimes you'll end up with no hot water because you have a leak in your tank and you don't realize that it's leaking so much that like it kind of can't heat up the water. That one people usually just say, "Oh, I've got a leaking water heater," right? But it can also affect the amount of hot water that you're getting.
Yeah.
And then if it's a tankless water heater, there's a whole different set of issues. They're m- more complicated operationally than a tank water heater. So you have to have like venting has to be working. You do still need like a gas supply. Maybe the heat exchanger is it has sediment that's built up on it, and it can't do the heat transfer through the heat exchanger. So there's a lot of different little things that can go wrong with tanklesses. that, that's more of a diagnosis situation.
Yeah. Well, how do you know? Here's the big thing because, like, obviously, you guys replaced my water heater a few, about 2, 3 years ago,
Hmm.
something like that. And I did end up upgrading to a tankless. However, my tanked water heater was like 15 years old.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty up there in age. And there was that consideration for a moment, like, well, can't we just fix it? I mean, it blew the gasket out the top, and we had water going everywhere. So no, we could not. But uh, when our technicians are out in the field, when are they typically suggesting a repair
Ah.
versus a replacement? There we
Um,
go. That's the word.
Yeah, so it has to do with a lot of different things. First, they're going to be looking at how old the water heater is. If it's a 10-year-old water heater and the homeowner has no idea if there's been maintenance done on it over those 10 years, we're going to be less likely to recommend a repair just because
Okay.
money that you're putting towards that repair is probably better spent on a replacement that we can then properly maintain the water heater. You don't want to be spending like $800, $1,200 on a repair this year and then needing to replace the whole thing in a year or two. It's better to just go ahead and replace the whole thing now and start the proper maintenance cycle. Let's say it's a younger water heater, only 2 or 3 years
Hmm.
old, and it like the gas valve went out. That's a replaceable,
Hmm.
repairable part. We're actually recommending repair at that point because it's a young
Okay.
water heater. The repair is probably going to get you almost the entire lifespan of a water heater, right? You should get another 8 to 10 years off of that if you do the repair. Especially because while we're there doing a
Hmm.
repair, we can go ahead and like do a flush also. So you get that maintenance put in. Even if you haven't done it up to the 2, 3 year mark, it can make sense to start doing it then and you'll preserve the life of the water heater. But it also depends on what the problem is. Even if it's a young water heater, let's say that it springs a leak on the actual tank, that's just not repairable. You have to replace the water heater at that point. We have had people ask us if we can like weld the tank, and the answer is no. You do not do that.
Can you just put a plate on the outside of my tank and hope it doesn't like pop another spot?
Well, one
Let's
thing
do
that
that.
people don't understand about water heaters is the outside of it is not the actual tank. The tank is
Mm.
underneath a layer of insulation. So you've got the tank and then insulation and then like the outer wrapping. So no, you can't just like kind of put a patch on the outside. That's not going to stop the leak. That's not the tank.
Well, I mean, that would make sense. And it would be really kind of difficult to weld the inside tank and then seal the insulation and then weld the outside. That might actually cost as much as just
Oh
replacing the
yeah,
thing.
for sure. That is another thing about the repairs, right? Yes,
Hmm.
water heaters are an investment, uh, but the repair cost is often a significant portion of the cost of a new water heater.
Yeah, if you're going to invest in the repair, you might as well just invest in the water heater
Mhm.
at that point, especially if it's over that, what, 8 to 10 year mark? 10 year. I think you said 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. If it's getting close to that 10-year mark, I would just recommend replace it.
Well, one thing I have noticed is our technicians typically give, multiple options to people on what type of water heater they should have. And one of the things that was talked through with us was whether or not we wanted to go with like a pro grade water heater
Yeah.
versus like a pro grade water heater, a good Bradford white, which I have now been educated on in my life, or like a typical, like a very standard big box store water heater, which has a less of an investment to it up front,
Hmm.
but it seems to have a shorter lifespan
Hmm.
to it versus like a Bradford or a pro grade water heater. What is kind of the difference there?
Yeah, there's a number of differences. The specific differences are going to depend on the specific brand. There are a few different brands of pro grade water heaters. So you have A.O. Smith does a pro grade, Rudd does a pro grade. Bradford White is only pro grade. They don't make anything that gets sold at a big box store. Um, but some of the
What is the
differences are the drain valve on the bottom. Most of the big
hmm
box stores are a plastic valve. with a reduced capacity, whereas you're going to get a full port brass valve on a pro grade. That's going to help
Okay.
those annual water flushes, right? So it'll be a faster flush because it's full port, and it's less likely to break because it's brass. Other things that they do is they may actually have better coatings on the inside of the tank. That's what helps prevent the corrosion that is ultimately what causes leaks. They may have a better anode rod inside of them, or there's actually a pro grade one where you can buy their extended warranty comes with a second anode rod. So that's the sacrificial rod that protects the inside of the tank. You can have the additional warranty through the manufacturer, and that comes
Yeah.
with the second anode rod.
Yeah.
The
What in the world does an nanorod do? Like, what does an nanorod do? Why is this a thing that exists, and why do I care?
So an anode rod is a sacrificial piece of metal that gets put inside of the tank. You might imagine that corrosion is a big issue with a metal tank that is in constant contact with water. So there are
Metal
types of
plus
metal.
water equals corrosion?
Yeah,
What?
yes. But the cool thing about corrosion is it will attack different kinds of metal first. So what you
Okay.
do is you have an anode rod. It can be made of a few different types of metal. Pretty sure that magnesium is one of them. Titanium is one of them. Not actually sure about the titanium. There's a couple different metals, right?
Titanium?
I don't remember exactly which ones, but basically it's the ones that are
Okay.
going to more easily give up their electrons, and so
Hmm.
they they get corroded first. Basically, the anode rod is in there to be eaten away, and as long as that anode rod exists, the corrosion is going to happen to the anode rod and not to the tank. So water heaters use a few different techniques to try to protect the tank from corrosion. One of them is the anode rod. Another one is the coatings on the inside of the tank. But the coatings, wear away over time, and they only protect for so long. And the speed at which your anode rod gets eaten up depends on your water quality. So that's why your water quality is a factor, whether or not you're doing the flushes is a factor, and then if you get your anode rods, those are all factors in how long your tank on ultimately lasts.
Yeah. What exactly is the water softener doing to like protect the inside of that tank or even like your fixtures? Because if I understand correctly, which again, not a plumber, but here we are, the fixtures in your home, like your faucet, your toilet, your dishwasher, whatever, like what exactly is this water softener doing to protect it other than just like making my sink produce ocean water?
Yeah, so that is a little bit of a misconception. It does add salt, but it doesn't add very much. You'll never taste it in the water, and it's definitely not enough to be a health concern outside of like extremely specific circumstances. There are some people where doctors will recommend not having softened water, but it's like
Hmm.
unless your doctor very specifically told you not to have softened water, you don't need to worry about it for health reasons. A softener is the job of a softener is to take out calcium and magnesium ions. These ions are what kind of like creates the sediment. Like if you ever notice like little white crusties on the outside of a faucet, or your shower head is a good place that it collects. That is calcium and magnesium deposits. When the water
Hmm.
evaporates, it leaves behind those minerals. And what happens to your water heater is that because the water sits there in the tank while you're not using hot water, all of the calcium and magnesium, it like will fall out, right? And it falls down and it's basically sand in the bottom of your water heater. And that over time will just build up and build up and build up unless you flush it out. That's how you're getting the only way to get the calcium and magnesium out is by flushing the water heater. What a water softener does is it exchanges the calcium and magnesium ions with sodium ions, and it pulls the calcium and magnesium out. Puts a little bit of sodium in, pulls the calcium and magnesium out. The sodium's not going to fall out and create the sediment.
Uh, okay, so we're replacing calcium magnesium with salt to protect the everything. I'm gonna say the fixtures again. Everything. Just protect the whole house. Um,
Mhm.
oh, when your water heater flushes,
Right.
right? We're not great at them. And by we, I mean me, not you guys. You flush your water heater. We as a company flush water heaters all the time.
Yeah.
We're gonna stack some questions on you here. One, are we using some sort of solution in our water, like when we're doing tanked flushes, um, to clear out the sediment? How do I like get myself to do these things?
Yeah. So
Because I suck at them.
a lot of homeowners do. Most homeowners don't know, right? If you've never been told before that you need to flush your water heater, you get a pass. Today is your day. You have now learned water heaters need flushed, and I absolutely recommend doing them at least once a year going forward. Tanked water heaters, generally speaking, you're not doing any kind of solution. You definitely are doing a solution for a tankless water heater, though. And there's a couple of different ones. There's a brand called Haymaker. They make a solution specifically for flushing tankless water heaters. But actually, most of the manufacturers recommend just using food grade white distilled vinegar. You mix it in a specific ratio with water and you flush that through. So the vinegar it's actually acetic acid. It's a
Okay.
weak dilute concentration of the acid, and the acid is what's going to actually clear the sediment that has been built up in your tankless water heater. The tanked water heaters, the primary action is not a chemical reaction. It's just the physical pulling the water through the system. It's more the mechanical action of stirring it up and flushing it out that's going to get rid of all of the sand and sediment at the bottom of your tank water heater. Now, as far as getting homeowners to do it, you can set reminders. Like if you do your own home maintenance, just add it to your list, right? You've got your
Mm-hmm.
checklist. You're going to do these things yearly on your home. Set your reminder and work through your checklist. That's great for people who are already heavy into DIY and who are doing other things like cleaning gutters and waterproofing hose bibs and whatever home maintenance activities you're already doing. Just add it to your list. It only needs to be done once a year. It's not generally a difficult thing to do. Watch a few YouTube videos, and most people are capable of doing it. However, if you don't have a list of home items that you're doing every year already, or you don't trust yourself to be doing the flush on an annual basis, there are options. One of them is our annual service plan. You can get a service plan and there's other benefits, but for the purposes of your water heater flush, we will contact you. We will schedule it for you at a time that is convenient for you, and we will come out and do the annual flush at no additional charge. It is a benefit of our service plan.
Love not having to think about my house maintenance. I'm not great at it. So I obviously went with the tankless, and I feel like the misconception of endless versus instant was pounded into my head while I was requesting this.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people that have this misconception that tankless water heater equals instant and endless
Yeah.
hot water, and it is not. It is just endless.
hmm
Uh, so, at what point would you look at a homeowner and say, at this point, I would recommend that you get a tankless? Are we talking about number of bathrooms, number of people? Do we need one tankless, two?
So the main thing is probably actually not the number of bathrooms. The number of bathrooms is going to dictate how many tanklesses you need. You kind of hinted at it there. There are situations where you might need two or more, but that's usually like big houses that have like 4 bathrooms or something, right? Um, Most residential situations, one tankless water heater is going to be adequate. The thing would be probably more the number of people and how much water those people are using. If you have a home with, let's say, 2 adults and 4 teenagers, and all 6 people are taking a hot shower every day, that last person is probably not getting very much hot water. It's more about the number of people and how they're using the water than it is about the number of bathrooms. So let's say you have 2 adults and 4 teenagers. They're all taking a hot shower every day. And they were managing this by saying that only 3 people were allowed to take it in the morning and 3 people were taking their shower in the evening. And they had to space them out by at least
Mhm.
like half an hour. That is a classic situation of where a tankless water heater is going to completely change things for them. They can take as
Yeah.
long of a shower as they want and as many back to back showers as they want, and they're never going to run out of hot water. I want to back up a little bit and address that instant versus endless hot water. So I believe the reason that there's this
Okay.
big misconception around it is because initially when people started introducing tankless water heaters and marketing them, they did use the phrase instant. And that was because they were talking
Mhm.
about the fact that technically a tankless water heater is by nature on demand. And that means that you're not maintaining a supply of hot water. That water doesn't get heated until there is a demand for it. And so you're heating it on demand, which in one
Okay.
frame of reference is instant. The problem is they discovered that to the consumer, instant hot water meant instant at the point of use. They were talking about instantly created, and customers were thinking of instantly delivered. Those are two different things. So the better way of thinking about it is a tankless water heater can produce endless hot water. As long as it has a fuel source, it's not going to stop producing hot water. Um, but to get instant hot water at the fixture, you need to have something called a recirculating system.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have one of those in my house. And like this past winter, we had like a level 3 snow emergency in Warren County. The intake water from the outside, from the ground, was much colder than normal. It was like, turn the water on, let it go up 2 floors. Excuse me while I go put around my room for 10 minutes waiting for my water. Also, like, I would like a recirculation tank now, please.
Oh, we can get a
I'm putting that out
recirculating
there for the
system in for
entire
sure.
internet.
For sure. Well, we can talk about that. And we'll talk
Uh,
about the different types too, because there's actually two main ways to do it.
I think in my house, the one that everybody talks about is because our master shower is the biggest pain point.
Mhm,
And so there's a closet right behind it,
mhm.
right? It's not like I have to look at a recirg system if you put it in the closet.
Yeah.
But I know that there's also a whole home option. So, like, at what point is the whole home better versus just like focusing on my shower?
It depends on how the home is laid out. If you have a home where you don't have a ton of fixtures and things aren't branching off, so like you have your water heater and then it goes along and hits your kitchen and let's say one bathroom and then the second bathroom and it's all more or less in a straight line and you have a true like furthest point, it's perfectly fine
Hmm.
to do a bypass valve. And that bypass valve basically it uses the cold water line as the return and every time it
Hmm.
senses that the temperature is low at the furthest fixture, it's going to push a little bit of hot water out there until it reaches its desired temperature. And it's going to push that lukewarm water back through the cold line. And that's how it keeps the water warm. So you do end up with a little bit of a reverse problem.
Oh,
You will never have instant cold water, but most people don't care about instant cold water. They're not going to mind if their water is just a little bit lukewarm, right? Most of the time, what people want is the warm water. And so they're looking for a warm water faster, and that's what that can give them. The times when that's not going to be
I mean,
appropriate is if you've got, let's say,
uh,
your water heater's here in the center of your house and you have fixtures going this way
mhm,
and you have fixtures going this way, you would have to choose one or the other with that kind of a system, right? The thermal bypass valve
mhm.
is what controls it, and you could have warm water looping on this side and then nothing happening over here. So that's when you want to look at what you're calling a whole home system, what we would call a direct recirculating system.
Okay. I feel like that's probably more of what my house needs at this point is a direct recirculating system.
If you
Just
want to have
every bathtub.
Yeah, if you wanna have it at multiple, locations to be able to have the instant hot water, that's what you have to do. You have to have a 3rd pipe. So normally you have a hot line and a cold line to all of your fixtures. This is a hot line,
Hmm.
cold line, and a return line from all of your fixtures. And that return line, instead of using the cold line to push water back the
Hmm.
lukewarm water, you have the return line, and it's just a loop, basically, and it allows the water in that loop to get warmed up. You can do it on a timer system, you can do it like on a schedule system, so only certain times of day, let's say 6 a.m. it starts warming up the water for you and the water in that loop is now warm. You get your instant hot water, but at 2 p.m. when nobody's even home, it's not going to heat up the loop because it knows you don't need it.
Okay. So we have some energy efficiency built into this.
Mhm.
I will say, it was not the like mind-boggling amount of money that I thought I was going to save. However, once we did install a tankless water heater versus our 15-year-old tank, my gas bill did drop
Mhm.
like $6 whole a month.
Mhm. Gas is
Yeah.
still pretty cheap in our area, so you're not gonna see, like,
Yeah.
huge amounts of money come off, but you should notice a difference. There's two reasons for that. One, tankless water heaters are genuinely more efficient. You are not keeping,
Mhm.
a whole tank of water that is losing heat to the surroundings all throughout the day. You're not keeping that warm. So you're only using the gas when you need it. That's the on-demand portion. The other thing is more of the actual heat energy is going into the water. So a tank water heater, especially like an atmospheric vent one, because there are different types of tank water heaters, but an atmospheric standard gas tanked water heater, the for every dollar of energy that you're purchasing and like
Mm-hmm.
burning, about 50 to 60 cents is going into the actual water. That's all the heat energy that you're actually capturing. Whereas for a tankless
Okay.
water heater, you're actually getting like 95, 98 cents of the energy actually goes into the
Yeah.
water.
This has got to be why the EPA is trying to get rid of tanked.
Yes,
Because like it's more efficient
it's
and we
more
can use
efficient.
less gas. I mean, I understand that like within my home, that $6 was nothing, right? The $6 worth of gas is absolutely nothing just in my home. How
I
many homes do you think are in the Miami Valley area?
think 2 million was a bad guess. I think the population in the greater Miami Valley area, like the greater Dayton area, is about 1.2-ish million.
Oh,
And let's say
it's
that
a
household size on average is like 3. So maybe we'll say 400,000 homes.
okay. So Greater Dayton,
Mhm.
just Greater Dayton,
Mhm.
contains 431,452 homes.
Did you hear how close I was?
I know you were right on top. So if we took $6 of energy, right, times 431,000, you would come out to $2,586 worth of energy.
And that's $2 million worth of energy per month, right? Is it a monthly bill or a quarterly
Yeah,
bill?
that was our monthly bill.
Yeah,
It
so
dropped.
you can see why on a like society level there is a push to do these things because it makes a huge difference in terms of like how much energy a society is using.
Okay, as we're on the topic of cost, right? Because water heaters are an investment,
Yeah.
no matter what type you get. A good like Bradford White pro grade tanked water heater. What am I looking at without the flushes? What would be like the range from the 1 year warranty up to the 10-year manufacturer warranty?
Um, the manufacturer's base
Yeah.
warranty is 6 years, but it's not 6 years worry free. It's 1 year parts and labor, so 1 year worry free, and then from years 2 through 6, you get parts covered. So and for the pro grade one, like Bradford White, it means that they'll like if your tank fails, they'll give you a new tank, but you've been
Hmm.
responsible for the labor to get it installed. Um,
What is the cost of a Bradford White with the 6-year warranty?
we're looking right where this warranties are complicated to understand and keep track of, right? And so you
You
very
are correct.
hmm?
2,800 is about right.
2,800. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's again, that's the manufacturer's warranty. You'll have zero worries for the first year. And then if something happens in years 2 through 6, they're going to cover the parts, which is a large chunk of the cost, but you're still going to have to pay for any labor on the repair or let's say the fresh install. Um,
Okay.
if it's a
It
10-year
does.
worry free, so 10 years, you're not
Yes.
gonna, anything goes wrong, we're gonna come and take care of it. Pretty sure that price is
Well,
more like 3,600.
it looks like so the 6-year worry free,
Yeah.
right, is sitting about 3,100.
Yeah. This is a 36.
Ooh,
Little
38.
38. Oh, I was actually a little low.
Yeah, you were a little low.
Yeah. But that's
Overprom.
10 years with absolute, it doesn't matter if it's year 9, month 11, and your water heater springs a leak, we're going to come and replace that for you. And you're not going to pay for the tank
Yeah,
and you're not going to pay for the labor to do so. What did we say that the average lifespan of a water heater was, right? That means that there's a
8 to
relatively
10
decent
years.
chance that it's going to fail on you in year 9. Because,
Okay, so with that knowledge, right? So we're just going to say the 10-year worry free Bradford White, 3,800, right? What do you think? How long does a tankless last typically?
tanklesses can last a lot longer, especially if you do the annual maintenance flush on them,
Mm-hmm.
which is in some ways more important for the tankless water heater. One, it was a bigger upfront investment, right? So you want to protect that investment. And two,
Mm-hmm.
that 98% efficiency that I quoted for you is only within the first like year, if
Okay.
it's not maintained. So two major reasons to be doing your annual flushes. Let's assume you're doing your annual flushes. That tankless water heater for the heat exchanger specifically is 15 years. But they can go like
Okay.
15, 20 years easy.
Okay. So, off the top of your head, our 10-year tankless, like worry-free tankless warranty with like what without the protection plan, because we do also have the protection plan where for 10 years we're going to come and flush it for you. Without that, what does it cost? Brand new install.
Brand new install, I'm pretty sure we're just under $11,000. So I'm going to say like 10,700.
Oh, actually, fun fact, it's just over 11,000 with the protection plan.
Okay.
Without the protection plan, it's 9.
Okay. Oh, so it was a little high.
Okay. A longer lifespan
Longer
on the
lifespan.
tankless, longer lifespan with an actual reduction of your
Energy bill.
gas bill.
Hmm.
I mean, like $6 a month.
Yeah.
But I mean, 6 times 12
Times 10.
times 10 is $720,
Yeah. So it's like
right?
you could knock another $720 off the price of it, and that's what you're actually spending extra to get your tankless water heater. And that's none of that accounts for like, are you ever having fights about who used all of the water when you wanted to take a hot shower? That's not going to happen for the next
Always.
10 to 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, so there definitely is more of an upfront cost, but honestly, like, here's my ideal, right? You're a family and you have kids who are in like mid to late elementary, and you're putting this tankless water heater in, and you're not going to have to think about it until they're in college,
Hmm?
right?
That is a
And
wonderful time period to not have to think about your water heater.
yeah, I mean, you're going to have to flush it once a year, absolutely. But you make that investment up front, you've got a lower bill coming out every month. I mean, $6. But I'm just using my own example
It
because
could
I'm
be
like,
less. Like
$6 does add up.
if you use even more hot water, that bill is going to be reduced more, right? Because you were still
Yeah.
heating that water, and if you're still using that much hot water, 20 to 30
Yeah.
cents less for every dollar of fuel that you're spending.
So you could have a potentially higher savings depending on how many children you have, which means as your children get older and they get into their teenage years, that tankless water heater, and when the EPA decides we all have to go tankless, well, look, you already made it. You did it. You don't
You
have to
already
think
did it.
about it. This is a fantastic reason to go get a tankless water heater. I will say the other reason, so I did not know when I first started visiting my in-laws that they had a tankless water heater.
Hmm.
And granted, when I first started visiting, there were like 7 of us staying in the house, and now there's 12,
Yeah.
right? There are 12 of us staying in that house. People do shower at the exact same time, but they have 3 showers in their home.
Hmm.
And I won't say we're ever running all 3 at the exact same time, maybe up to 2. But like we can just roll people through.
Yeah, you can just
Just go.
this is the time
Just go.
everybody needs to get ready before this event that's happening, and we got to go quickly. Nobody's stuck with a cold shower in the last half, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody is going to get that hot shower because you are not running out of hot water. I will say, because you happened to mention that there were 3 showers, that is another point about tank water
Hmm.
heaters. They are rated for a specific number of gallons per minute of hot water.
Yeah.
So if you had all of the showers going and for some reason you really wanted to tax your system and you also had the dishwasher going, it's rated for a specific gallons per minute. And if you have 3 bathrooms going and for some reason you decide you also want to run a load of laundry and run your dishwasher all at the same time, that's probably too much for one tankless to handle. And if
Because
you
you have
expect to be
32
running into
people
that
in your house.
situation often, then you should consider getting 2. Um, but for most families in most situations, two plus tanklesses is like a mansion thing or a commercial facility thing. It's not usually like a normal residence thing.
It's for the hotels.
It is also for the hotels, yes.
Actually, that'd be really useful if you're a hotel, having just like
Hmm.
17 tankless water heaters lined right up that all just kick on.
Yep, yep.
I don't think that's what we saw last time we had our guys in a hotel.
That one, I believe, actually had a mixture. They had some tankless and they had some tanked, which is not the worst strategy either. Because then you like for those true surge situations, you can have the tanks for like extra
Hmm.
backup hot water. But you can have like the tanklesses for like the more efficiency.
It's true. I wonder if they pull from tanks first though instead of tanklesses. I
I
don't know why you
wouldn't
would,
think
but
so because they're not as efficient even at the heating part, right? So if you're having tanklesses there for efficiency gains in a commercial setting, you'd want to pull from tankless first.
no. It is interesting to think about commercial setting because we don't hang out in that world very often, so we're much more in the residential world, unless you want to talk about the like random restaurants we get called to.
Yeah, we don't know much about the resi or the commercial stuff or the restaurants and all that. We can usually figure it out when they call us for small things, but it's not what we are not making that our bread and butter.
No, no, we're definitely specialized in residential, which is great because then we can actually take care of homeowners, um, especially new homeowners who buy a house and then don't realize that there's so many things that you have to do to take care of a house.
Mhm.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay, this is the point in the show where I look up a dad joke about the topic that we're on and I feed it to you. Dad joke about water heaters. I'm why don't water heaters gossip?
Why don't water heaters gossip?
Do
I don't know.
they don't like to stir up hot water?
Don't like to stir up hot water. I don't
Stir
know if
up.
that's a very good one.
Yeah. A lot of these are more like why did the water heater get promoted?
Why did the water heater get promoted? Because
It always performed under pressure.
okay, that is a pretty good one. So we didn't talk about the safety features of water heaters at all.
No, we didn't, especially that blown up water heater that I got to see. By
Mhm.
the way, if you are on our socials, you should just scroll down till you find that video of the water heater that just like blew out the side.
Yeah.
That I saw that walking into the office the other day. It's like hanging out in the lobby.
We're hanging on to it for now. It's a great training opportunity.
So
So, you know,
what what happened?
it's an older
Because that
water.
wasn't like it just got too hot.
No, no. Well, that's the thing. When you're heating up water, it does increase the pressure, right? And if it heats up to
Hmm.
boiling, what happens when you're boiling water? It's creating
It
gas,
angering the pressure.
which is a lot more pressure than a fluid. And if it is in a closed container and has nowhere to go, then eventually it's just going to break whatever container it's in, right? So that's why all water heaters have a temperature and pressure relief valve on them. It is meant
Oh,
to
did his TMP valve go out?
I think his TMP valve was broken. Yeah, it wasn't functioning. And also his expansion tank, which is another layer of protection, had failed and was full of water. So it wasn't able to expand the way it's supposed to. So two layers of protection went out. His water heater had a overpressure event, and the last thing that was available to fail on it was basically the welded seam on the tank, and it just
Hmm.
flew out the side. And it's just lucky that nobody was next to it. And what's really lucky is sometimes water heaters, tanked water heaters like this, when they fail, they don't fail the side, they fail the bottom and they turn into a rocket. They can launch out of a house.
Heard of this before.
Hmm.
I've never seen it, but I have heard of this.
I've not,
He was on a slab too,
it
wasn't
might have
he?
been a slab, it
It
might have
sounded
been
like
a
it was in a
basement. I
basement.
think it was in a basement.
Might have been a
Yeah.
basement. So, the first floor might have stopped it. At least it wasn't like a single layer through the roof.
It may have stopped before it went out of the house. I don't know that that would have been a plus or a minus. It's just at that point, if you've got a tank of your metal tanked water heater launching through any part of your house, that's, I don't even want to consider how many thousands of dollars of damage that is.
Okay, what part of that would be your water heater flies out of your house, right? Because it catastrophically failed.
Yeah.
It was definitely a sudden and unexpected failure of this water heater,
Yeah.
right? What part are you covering and what part is homeowners insurance covering outside of your deductible? Obviously, you have to pay your deductible, but
The homeowner's insurance is going to probably do all of the repairs to the house, but what it's
mhm.
not going to cover probably is, ironically, the new water heater. I think they're not going to cover that part.
But that's the part that catastrophically failed.
Yeah, but it's plumbing. They don't typically cover the plumbing portion. They just cover the damage caused by the plumbing.
Would they be more likely to cover if it was like 2 years old?
No, that's a manufacturer's warranty at that point. So
Mm.
again, they're not going to cover it. It could be
Would
if you have like a warranty company, they might cover it. Like we've worked here and there with warranty companies, and they will cover the more maintenance type things, like your furnace goes out, your water heater goes out, and it's within certain time frames. They'll cover that, but they don't cover like the damage caused by it. It's so goofy. The one company covers one thing, another company in policy covers another thing. Sometimes they can both get in on it and you get fully covered. You just have a couple deductibles to pay. But yeah.
basically it's a giant headache is what I'm hearing. A giant headache. No matter how the cookie crumbles, your head will hurt. I will say, um, You ever heard of a tankless water heater flying out of somebody's house?
No, that
No.
is not something that would happen. You know, if we're while we're on safety, the other thing you need to be aware of with all gas water heaters is
Mm.
the flue gases. You need to know that those are being properly exited from your home because otherwise they you can have chronic health problems with them and you can have acute health problems.
Yeah.
Acute health problems, it can go all the way up to death, right? If you've got a flue pipe that is leaking into your home and it's
Mhm.
got combustion products in there that is poisonous, you don't always know that they're happening. It can lead to death. But there's also chronic ones too. Like you might have dizzy spells, you might just not be very clear-headed. There's a lot of things that it can affect if your flue is not properly venting.
Okay. Can you just like put a carbon monoxide detector up? Will
Yeah,
that work?
that's the main
I know
thing
that's what
that's for.
furnace companies
Yeah.
do. Yeah. It'll start screaming at you if something goes wrong with your venting.
It is very important to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home if you have gas-fired appliances.
What is another safety feature? Like what is the most important safety feature on a water heater?
The most important,
Did we already cover it?
I mean, I feel like just the flue gas is pretty up there. The TMP is up there because obviously you don't want something exploding in your home. Flue gases are dangerous for your health. But the most used one I would say is actually just the thermostat. If you think about
Okay.
it,
How is that a safety feature? That's more of just like making it so I can take a hell temperatured shower.
well,
I
if
mean,
your
not
water is
anymore,
too
but
hot, if you set your thermostat
hmm
too high, or if the thermostat breaks and doesn't regulate the temperature of the water, you'll get scalded. And there's other safety features in homes these days, but let's say you have an older home and it has like an older style faucet or shower valve,
hmm
it doesn't have temperature protection on it. And so you can go if you go full hot and your water heater is set too high, you'll scald yourself.
What do we typically set water heaters at?
Residential, they're meant to be set at 120 degrees.
Okay. Is there like a temperature drop by the time it gets to your faucet?
Yeah, there's always a temperature drop, but if it once it's warmed up, you're probably looking at like 5 to 10 degree temperature drop, depending on how far it has to go.
hmm
So the pure hot is gonna be
How,
probably around like
what is like the max you would set it
the
high?
max.
hmm
Well, most water heaters don't even have the ability to be set above like about 140, 145. That's a commercial setting anyway. But that's already too hot for homeowners because this you will scald yourself at 140. I think scalding actually happens like at 120, 130 already.
Really? Because I know that the Russians say that the women take the hell showers.
That
You're like, I have no idea. This
I
is
don't know what the actual temperature of these showers, but that's where scalding starts.
thinking about it. Well, I think I have asked all of the water heater questions that the internet can give me, plus more. Uh, and we have a pretty decent consumer guide on water heaters right here,
It's a good start.
like what to understand.
Now we
So,
need people to actually watch this and then ask the questions that we failed to answer or failed to ask to begin
yeah, if you have made it to this point, first of all, thank you and why. And secondly, comment your questions below because we could use like some additional questions answered. That would be great. Google is not always accurate on what questions people are asked. I mean, it is accurate on questions people are Googling, but it doesn't have all of your thoughts yet. So, if you have made it this far, comment your questions below. Of course, like and subscribe because we want to keep giving you more fantastic plumbing information about how to maintain your home or how to talk to your landlord about your home that you are living in, because that is also an important question, an important conversation to have. And as always, stay sweet.